I got a death certificate and I got all this stuff. I was going to fake my own death because I knew that they were probably looking for me. So I was going to try to throw them off the scent. And
after I have that first one, I'm no longer in control. I really wanted to quit. And then I would wake up the next morning and have no choice. I'd lost my identity and I didn't know who I was. I just had nothing left. And I needed help so bad. It all came down on me. I could not pull myself out of it. I had hit rock bottom. I just knew I was gonna die. And I remember just praying that foxhole prayer, like, God, please just get me through this moment. I'll stop doing bad. I will stop everything. The goal of my podcast is to not only educate people on, mental health, but also let people know that they're not alone. JD, welcome.
What is up, Kevin? Thank you for having me tonight, man.
Dude, thank you so much for coming on. We just met like 6 hours ago, have gone through the recovery, gone through just a wonderful dinner here in Nashville. What's going on? What have you been up to?
I mean, bro, I'm kind of lethargic. You fed me steak and lobster tail. I mean, what type of treatment is that? That's terrible, bro. Isn't it great, the life that we have today?
It is, man. Freedom.
Yeah, it's a blessing to meet you, brother.
Thank you, man. And knowing that you're in sobriety, we're on this journey together. You just celebrated 5 years.
I celebrated 5 years back in July, man. Yeah. So it's been the wildest ride of my entire life. And I always thought that it would be boring. I didn't want to be a lame. I didn't want to have that boring life. And I can tell you this, I've not been bored one single second since the Secret Service threw me on my face and granted me the serenity and surrender to be able to embrace what I really needed to do with my life. So
it's crazy. The fear of when I had to stop drinking and drugging, the fear of my life is going to be boring for the rest of my life. Like my life is ending.
Yeah.
And my life really began.
Well, that's the thing is like a certain part of your life does end. And like, I don't think that people give themselves enough grace and space to mourn that life because I don't know about you, like as soon as I embraced substances, my life changed dramatically. It became part of my identity. It became a part of my every waking second. Like literally, it became part of my purpose and it overshadowed everything else. It just became who I was. And that person literally had to die. And not only are you mourning that part of yourself, but, I had a very deep relationship with my DOC. My DOC and I were very, very connected. And like my DOC definitely served a purpose. There were things that were going on inside of myself that were killing me and it numbed me out enough to be able to survive. And it's a tool and the tool worked for a period of time. The consequences, unfortunately, were catastrophic. And I still, instead of just having the same problems, I kept stacking problems. I always relate it to if your room is dirty and you just stuff everything in the closet until the closet won't fit anymore. And then finally, like it's so drastic that you open that door and it all just cascades in on you and you're buried in this stuff. And now it's harder to sort. It's harder to clean through. It's harder to process. And it becomes this whole other process where you really genuinely need help because I don't know many people that can unpack that all by themselves. But that's the beauty of recovery is that's where you find connection. That's where you find people that you actually have something in common with besides just substance chasing or the way that you get your substances and you build real and healthy relationships.
It's funny. My friend group in sobriety is like a 60-year-old man that I would have nothing in common with on the street. A 24-year-old dude who, is into heavy metal, it's just a mixed bag of people. But the common denominator is the feelings, the purpose, why we're there, and we're there to help one another as well. So it's an interesting dynamic in the sense of everyone's from a different walk of life, but we share the same feelings.
What better possible thing could you have as a connecting factor than your actual purpose? You know what I'm saying? And being on a mission together. Like I always tell everybody, we are all a family in recovery. We are all in this together. Like this is not like we're doing the same thing separately. Like that connection is what keeps us moving and what keeps us from falling down when things happen, man. So, in recovery, I've had so many catastrophic things happen. I came into recovery via the legal justice system and, I was facing 20 to 30 years. And I really had a lot of men walk me through that in early recovery while I'm still withdrawing, still going through it. And I don't know how to live. So literally, like the ways that I have lived and survived are the things that are going to end up taking me back out, the things that are going to end up ensuring that I go to prison. And I had to just embrace this complete and total surrender. And the men who carried me through when I didn't know how to live are forever heroes to me. And also now it's such a blessing and an honor that I get to be that man for the next man, you know, like that purpose keeps me going every single day. But, you know, I've gotten through the legal hardships. I've gotten through years of house arrest. I've gotten through, you know, losing a child and not falling back into those things that I know are going to temporarily make me feel better. But in the long run, they're going to kill me. They're going to kill my relationships. They're going to take everything that I've worked for away from me. So it's been a pretty amazing ride.
It's wild. Everyone knows JD DeLay, the internet personality. And today alone, I got to know the recovery side of you. And, you know, just watching Ian's interview, understanding that you're in sobriety and you had 5 years in July, you're doing it, man. It's remarkable. And I respect it because there are a lot of people that get sober, get clean, whatever it may be, abstinent, and don't put in the work. And it shows. Dude, I said to you, I was like, JD's gonna be grouchy, I think he might be, and you're not that person. You're very grateful. You're in the solution and you're helping others.
Even my worst days are still the best life that I've ever lived, bro. Like hands down, flat out. And like, here's the thing is like, I'm a successful junkie. Like when I'm a junkie, bro, I make a lot of money as a junkie. You know what I'm saying? So if I want to be miserable and grouchy and grumpy and ingrateful and have myself as the center of my own universe and just be a piece of shit, I can do that and I can make good money and I can do that high and not have to deal with my feelings as they come along. You know what I'm saying? So for me, recovery has to be something that I'm passionate about. And it has to be something that I enjoy on a very deep level. You know what I'm saying? So when I first went sponsor shopping, which is what I call it, because, you know, I needed a sponsor. My first sponsor, I got halfway through the steps. I was on like step 6 or 7 and he relapsed. And so I had to go find another sponsor and I was in super early recovery and I'm like, fuck, I got to start this over, you know? And that was when it really sunk into me, like, I'm looking for a sponsor. I'm not looking for the sponsor that'll take me. I'm looking for the sponsor that has something that I want. And I wanted to be happy every day. I wanted to be passionate about recovery. I wanted recovery to be a fire in my life that I could share with other people who are still in the darkness. And I found that dude, man. His name was Trevor Johnson. He's absolutely amazing. Trevor, if you're out there, I love you, brother. And he walked me through the steps in a way that was so unique. And his passion, he passed that down to me. And that's my goal, is to be able to give that to the next man. You know, in all things, the thing about recovery is it's always about passing it to the next man. You don't keep anything. You pass it to the next man. So that's why when like I got successful in social media and, you know, people that don't have huge platforms or whatever, I will take the time to sit and explain algorithms to you. I'll sit and, you know, tell you how I've done it. I'm not the best at it by any means at all whatsoever, but I found things that work for me and I'll share that with other people. And if jumping on somebody's podcast or whatever is going to help them, bro, I'm super happy to do it, especially if it's somebody who, I think that people who have fought with addiction and, you know, I don't know anybody who's, been a knockdown, drag out addict who hasn't gone through hardcore trauma. You know, I think if you've gotten through those things and you've walked out the other side, you are a badass warrior. And I think you deserve the best life possible. And if any way I can facilitate that's just given, bro.
When was the first time you stepped into a recovery meeting?
Man, so I was forced into recovery meetings and I didn't want to go because I was different than all of them. If you asked me, I would tell you, I've never used a needle to get high. I'm not like these people. You know what I'm saying? I don't drink until I piss myself. I'm not like these people. I don't get homeless. I'm not like these people. And you know, I came to a point where it would always just fail. Also, I was a staunch, angry atheist. Like, if there was a God, I wanted the ones. You know what I'm saying? I was that dude. I was like, fight me, punk. You know, and like, because I was molested as a child, and I felt so separated and so angry. And, part of it was I grew up in a Christian home, and inside myself, and the man who molested me told me, your parents will think you're gay, and you're going to go to hell, and you can't tell anybody. And so for a 6-year-old child who's already terrified of hell, because every time I go to church, they tell me about this lake of fire and, scary ass dude, and God is vengeful and angry, all that fire and brimstone, I couldn't subscribe to any of that. And I was so angry. But I also, for, the majority of my life, carried that around like a security blanket as my permission statement to do awful shit, to hate myself, to treat myself poorly, to take it out on other people. I think if you're living in a victim mentality, it's the most demoralizing and, powerless thing that you can be is a victim. And I had to really learn to step out of that to be able to take any type of power back, to be able to take, and part of that is by taking complete accountability for your shit. I was not responsible for what that man did to me, but I was responsible for the way that I reacted to it, and I carried it. And I was an adult when it happened. I can't blame myself for not processing it as a child, but as I became an adult, that was my responsibility, was not to let the wounds that he had given me bleed on other people who loved me. And so I wasn't ready for the 12 steps yet. I really wasn't. It wasn't until way later that, I had found my full and total surrender, that I was ready for the 12 steps and I was ready to fully embrace them. I fucked up recovery so many times, bro. My recovery that I have today, my foundation, is laid upon, the process of elimination. I had to try every single way to use successfully and not tank my life. And part of that was I tried doing recovery half-assed every single way that I possibly could. And then finally I had to go, fuck it, I really don't got this. I am these people. These people, it doesn't matter if I've never been homeless. I keep going to jail, and I'd rather be under a bridge than, sleeping in a dorm with all these dudes farting and snoring. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather be eating out of the trash, honestly, than eating some of the things that are bringing me on these trays. I've never used a needle to get high, bro, but I'm clearly out of control. I'm powerless over this shit. So that's really what it took for me to be able to enter into actually being a participant instead of like a begrudging, just part of the program.
It's funny. I went to probably meetings for about 10 years before I actually got sober. And process of elimination. Oh, okay, I have to get a sponsor. Great. I'm going to get a sponsor, but I'm not going to do the steps. Yeah. I'm going to go to meetings, not get a sponsor. Oh, this time I'm going to go to a narcotics meeting and I'll drink. Oh wait, no. It was the drinking. So I'm gonna go to an alcoholics meeting and not do drugs. And every single time it would just lead right back to the full-blown addiction, bottoming out more than I did prior. And it was just a complete disaster, an unmanageability. And it would get worse. My bottom, that trap door would just keep opening and opening and opening until I was just beaten down. Mm-hmm. And I was forced to take accountability because I had nowhere else to go.
Absolutely, man. And so it was so insane to me that I would bargain with myself. Well, I'm not going to smoke meth. I'm just going to snort it. I'm not going to snort or smoke meth. I'm going to boof it because it's different if you cram it up your ass, apparently. And none of that shit worked. Of course, none of that shit worked. I'm stupid. I'm just trying to figure out a way to successfully and casually take crystal methamphetamines. You ever seen a casual crystal methamphetamine user? I haven't. It's definitely not me. If somebody out there can handle just occasionally partaking in a little bit of high-grade crystal meth, bro, they are a rock on, brother. Hell yeah, do it over there, but I applaud you because I sure as can't be me, dog.
I just do meth on the weekends.
I've never seen it, bro. And I definitely tried. I thought that I could successfully do it. But, there was a point in time, one of my absolute bottoms was, I was on a suspended sentence. I was on probation. My PO told me to come in for a drug test, had a big old bag of dope. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, I'm going to stop 3 days before I go in to take this piss test. And so it hits 3 days, and I'm like, oh, I'll stop tomorrow and I'll drink a lot of water. Like, that's not going to do anything, dude. You're dumb. And then the next day, maybe I'll take some niacin. I heard that works. And like, literally, it comes down to the point where I'm sitting in my car in the parking lot, waiting for my PO appointment, and I'm taking huge bong hits of crystal meth in the PO's parking lot, trying to smoke it all up, because I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to prison today. I at least want to go as high as I possibly can. That was literally my mindset. Like, I was that off, bro. And then I walk into that PO vibrating. Like, I looked like Michael J. Fox with the shit, bro. My hands are just, I love you, Michael. Back to the Future 8. Bring it. And I'm just vibrating, dog. Like, I'm that high. And this dude, like, I walk in and I start talking to him. He doesn't UA me. Some reason, bro. I had the coolest PO, and he doesn't UA me. And I didn't go to prison that day. But I knew, like, 1,000%, I knew in that moment that, like, I was not at the steering wheel anymore. I didn't have control. These little bags of powder or shards were my master. And like, I was their punk. I was their slave. And that's like a really dehumanizing, demeaning feeling, but not enough to stop.
The crazy thing is, I bet if someone hooked you up to a lie detector test 3 days out and you said, I'm stopping tomorrow, you would have passed. And then, 2 days out, well, I'm just going to drink a lot of water. You were being honest with yourself.
Oh, 1,000%. I would have been like, I'm not stupid. I'm not going to prison. And then the next day I would have still been smoking.
It's insane, the disease of addiction and what it does. If we could jump back a little bit, what was early childhood like for you growing up?
I have great parents, amazing parents, bro. My mom grew up in a really abusive household in Flint, Michigan. Very poor. My dad, his dad was a veterinarian that was like a world famous veterinarian. My dad jumped into the Marines, went to Nam, did a couple tours of heavy combat, came back with a bunch of bad fucked up memories in his head, burned his uniform and all his medals on the steps in protest, and grew his hair out, became a hippie. And he started hitchhiking around the same time my mom started hitchhiking. And they met in a Christian hippie commune down in California where they both got saved, right? And my dad worked his ass off. Like, if I can ever be half the man my dad is, I'm doing real good. My dad still to this day works his ass off. He's, in his 70s, and he's out there every day doing it. They tried their absolute best, bro. Like, and my dad, knowing now what I know now, like, my dad would have killed that dude that molested me. You know what I'm saying? It didn't make me gay. It didn't mean I was going to hell. But, when you're a 6-year-old and this person is traumatizing you and telling you this is your fault and you'll get, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's part of how this cycle of abuse works and how these creatures, perpetrate what they do. That's when I started really manifesting in like bad behaviors. I became really unmanageable as a child around age 6. And my parents, they did what every parent in the 80s did. They took me to the doctor, and the doctor said, ADHD, we're going to put you on these pills. Take these pills. They're going to make you normal. You're going to fit in at school. The other kids will like you. And I remember getting this stuff and going, oh, this is the answer. Cool. I want to fit in. I want to feel normal. I want people to like me. And unfortunately, that's, not how that works. Just putting a kid on amphetamine salts isn't really going to fix the problems that are inside a kid if he's dealing with heavy trauma. But what it did do was it wired me to have a predisposition towards stimulants. Later on in life, the first time I ever did meth, it was because somebody told me, hey, bro, you look really tired. This is just like Adderall. It's golden. It's the same thing. You're not going to get hooked. And I had never, in my defense at this point, I'd gone through DARE, and they're like, weed is the same thing as heroin. And, all of this misinformation, this really lofty, okay, we're trying to do something and we're just going to lie to kids so they never try to do anything. Don't f- with the reefer. And then, when I smoked weed, I was like, these people are stupid, bro. Like this isn't drastic. So, I started trying other things eventually because, I don't know what's misinformation and what's not. These people are all stupid as and nothing ever hooked me. I mean, I've done, heroin, I've done, the Percocet 30s, I've done ecstasy, I've done cocaine. If there's a list of drugs, I've done them all except like Flocka, and only because it never presented itself, and fentanyl because no, like I never willingly, I know I've had shit that was laced. But the second that I hit the meth pipe, I was like, this is my personality now. This is who I am, and I will ruin my life over this thing. It was just like an instant click. And I've never since been able to stop without being arrested and taken completely out of the picture. So you have ADHD. How old were you when you first tried meth? I didn't try meth until I was like 23 years old.
And what did it do for you? Being that you had ADHD, you smoke meth, what physically, mentally, what does it make you feel a part of when you're in social environments? What did it do for you?
So you know how normal people, when they do meth, they're really geeked out and they're, you know what I'm saying? For me, it calms me, it focuses me, but you know how people have hyperfixations when they're on meth of different things? Some people want to mow their lawn at 4 a.m. with a headlamp and a pair of scissors. Some people are just face down in the carpet going, I know there's a shard somewhere here. There's other people, especially chicks, like to pick their face and they think shards are growing out of their face and they're trying to put it in the pipe and re-smoke it because I know the shard's growing out of my face. I didn't get none of that. I just get calm, I get focused, but I focus on felonies. My hyperfixation is what I'm gonna do to get that money, to keep things coming in and to build a bigger empire. I feel like I'm trying to build a popsicle stick empire with, a few other like-minded tweakers, and I'm trying to coach them because they're all mildly, whatever. And they're, taking a toaster apart, trying to put it back together. I'm like, no, man, hey, check it out. We're going to print up checks and you're going to go cash them. I'll do the printing. You go cash this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to steal the car. You're going to take the rims and the system off. So I was always just super hyper fixated on all the wrong to support my habit at first. And then afterwards I was like, oh, I'm good at this. And how people get grandiose, lofty ideas in their head. Like, I'm a kingpin, bro. Especially after prison, because, I really embraced a lot in prison of the low-life lifestyle. And I met up with people and joined a gang in prison. And, I ended up having the keys. So by the time I got out, I was always starting squads on the streets of highly dedicated tweakers. And it's just a nightmare, bro. It's a nightmare. My delusions are grand and many when I'm on meth.
You were starting criminal enterprises on the street.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
What does it mean to have the keys in prison?
Having the keys is basically, so I landed at OSP. I jumped into the gang when I was at Snake River, which Snake River is like gladiator school. And there were, probably 30 of us on each compound out there. We were real deep. We were real thick. I'm Irish pride. It says it right here in case I, forget that I'm Irish, and in case anybody wants to know who hit them. I've got it laced up. I also have Love Wins tattooed on my knuckles because I think it's funny and ironic if I give somebody the 2-piece very lovingly. No, I'm just playing. But I ended up getting shipped out of there and shipped over to OSP, and there was about 6 of us there. And our shot caller or key holder ended up getting punked out, bro. Like somebody from another gang said some wild to him, called him a punk, called him a in the chow hall, and dude didn't do nothing. And so, somebody came to my cell and they were like, yo, homeboy just got punked all the way out. And I'm like, well, okay, we need to, next time they pop these doors, we're taking them off the yard. And, for me, it was just like how politics need to be run. You handle things swiftly and accordingly. And if you're in a gang with people, every single person in that gang is a reflection of you. And you're not going to call me a punk or a and have me not do anything. So if he's making us look weak, he's the one who gets taken out. And so, you know, the next time they cracked the doors was lunchtime. That happened at breakfast. I didn't even go to breakfast when I was in prison. And we went down there, and one of my prospects went and just mopped this dude. Him up bad, bro. Like it was not even a fight. It was this dude just getting just shots to the face repeatedly till the cops came over. You know, so dude was gone, and then it was like, okay, well, you know, who's going to be in charge now? And I never wanted to ever be the person who's like, okay, you have to go do this, you have to go do that. Those are the way my gang works is we're a family, we're brothers, and we watch out for each other and we have each other's backs. You know what I'm saying? It's not a white supremacist gang. We're just shanty Irish mix that hang out and, you know, we care about each other. So, you know, we would put everything to a vote, but somebody's got to sit at the table and, you know, say, okay, here's what we're facing. Here's our options. Let's vote on this because this needs to be handled. It needs to be handled right away. And I never, ever had to try to tell anybody to do anything because all my brothers are soldiers. So if something needs to be handled, every single time somebody would be like, I got this. Let me go do this. I'll go sit down in the hole for, you know, 180 days on this, you know? So it, you know, people use the term shot caller a lot, and I hate that term. I think it's really Hollywood. And maybe it's just my personal experience, because maybe there's, you know, other gangs that are like, yeah, this dude is our Donald Trump. This dude is our Kim Jong-il. You know what I'm saying? But to me, it was just somebody who's, you know, presenting what our options are. And, you know, every single person in that gang had equal say as to what was going to happen.
That tool Ian Bick uses, shot caller. Yeah, it's part of his.
Well, Ian Bick is amazing at presenting things in a way that grasps people's imaginations and gets them to watch shit, bro. Ian is a literal genius.
We love Ian. Stuff. That was a shot at Ian. Joking.
Ian is a literal genius at this
We
stuff.
love Ian.
I mean, we know that he's brilliant because he has big, thick glasses. So he's either a genius or he's a and I choose to believe he's a genius. So
what did prison teach you?
Prison taught me a whole lot about respect, and it taught me what I was and wasn't capable of in some respects, and it also taught me where I never wanted to be again. You know, I knew going in exactly what time it was because I hung out with a lot of bikers. I hung out with a lot of people that were gangsters. I hung out with a lot of people that were convicts and had been in and out of prison. And so, you know, I already knew the rules going in. I wasn't fresh. I wasn't a fish. And when I got there, it was like a family reunion. I walked into my unit at Snake River, and it was like 3 dudes that I knew, and they were like, yo, JD, what's up, man? And I'm like, yo, what's good, man? And I put my paperwork down on the table. I said, this is my paperwork. Anybody who's trying to talk to me, I need to see your paperwork. You know what I'm saying? And from there, you know, they brought me a bag, bro. Somebody brought me a pair of Nikes. They were beat up old Nikes, but they were size 13, and that's what I needed. And, you know, they had soap and shampoo and deodorant ready for me, like right off rip. And, you know, I just knew a lot of people. And, you know, in the end, like prison really taught me that I just really didn't want to go back, bro. Because I feel like a lot of the time people get wrapped up in this like need to have some sort of rite of passage. And I had tried to sign up for the Marines, but I already had a felony. And I was like, you guys can like get this taken care of, right? This possession of meth, it's just one felony. And they're like, get the out of here. You know what I'm saying? I feel like today they need people more, and they'd probably be like, yeah, no, don't worry about it. We'll slide you through, brother. You got face tattoos. Come on in here, buddy. We're going to put you on the front lines. But at the time, you know, they weren't like desperate for recruitment, and they were absolutely like, no, bro, get out of our building. What do you mean? You know, I feel like I had been looking for some sort of rite of passage, some sort of like trial. And going into prison, my mindset with what happened to me as a kid was I'm going to beat the out of every I can find. And Oregon doesn't have like a PC. So, you know, the Chomos are on mainline. They're on general population. And, you know, it's kind of just open season on beating the out of them. Most of them are paying somebody, but like as long as you don't, you know, their money, then it's good. And you know, I beat the out of a lot of fucking Chomos when I was there. A lot of the people that I with, that was kind of their mutually shared goal was like, let's get these, bro. Let's get these Gerber baby groupies. So we handled a lot of that. That was cool. But I just really knew that I never wanted to live like that again. I thought it was a rite of passage in some twisted way in my head, but really it just means that you're committing crimes and you're shit at them. You're bad at them. You get caught. It doesn't matter how many you're doing, like do less and don't get caught. Then you have to go shower with dudes, which I don't know about you. If some people are cool with showering with a bunch of dudes. I don't want to shower with dudes. I don't want to ask cops for toilet paper. I don't want to eat food that says not fit for human consumption on it. I like it out here where there's steak and bro. I like it out here where when I breathe, I don't have to smell 50 other men's farts. There's just nothing cool about that. So,
walk me through, you talked about pedophiles in prison. What does it look like for a pedophile once they get into prison? I mean, you hear, on social media, life is completely hell for them in prison, rightfully so. But what does that look like? How do you identify one with their paperwork? How does that work?
So let's clarify this, because every time I talk about anything specific with prison, there's going to be a ton of people in the comments. You know who you are. This is your shush. It's different places. Okay. So like you got to keep in mind, every different state has different politics. Even within the state, different prisons have different politics. And then you have the feds too. Where I was on the West Coast, and that's what I need to stipulate here. In the state of Oregon, it's different than in the state of California. All you California boys, I know you're too hard for the yard. It's okay, we still love you. Where I was at, the first thing that happens always is paperwork. And it's not like Wes Watson said, where you need to stick your paperwork up your ass to get it from county to prison. It's literally the only thing you can keep going from county to prison is your legal paperwork. You're legally entitled to have your mother paperwork with you. So everybody knows that you carry that with you, because that's who you are. That's your ID. The prison ID they give you ain't, bro. That's just how they secondarily ID you if you don't have your paperwork, because they know that something's up if you ain't got your paperwork. You go into paperwork, these chomos, they go in there and they get hit up immediately. Like a lot of the time before they even make it through R&D, getting out of their jumpsuit and getting into, their general population clothes, somebody in laundry is going to hit them up, because everybody's trying to get these dudes first. If they say they don't have their paperwork, it's all bad, bro. It's all bad. They're going to get caught. And if they have their paperwork and it's bad, then, they're going to get beat up. They're going to get extorted. They're going to get their food taken. They're going to get smeared in their food. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're going to pay. They're never going to have canteen. Like a chomo with canteen, no, that's not happening. They're going to live the worst possible quality of life for however long they're in there. The thing about the state of Oregon is they hand down the lightest sentencing to people for sexual crimes. You're going to get way more time for theft charges or, drug charges like that than you are for most sex crimes. So we get so sick of seeing that. We get so tired of seeing these touchers come in there and just slide. You know what I'm saying? They post it up in the bushes outside an elementary school and they get 18 months for, forcible sodomy on a 4-year-old times 8. And it just makes us so sick that we be them dudes up in there. Also, one is too many. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's just where I was doing time. I know that every single state is going to be different. The feds is going to be different. And I think that's one of the most interesting things for people about the whole prison genre is that it's a closed environment. So it's not like they can see what's going on in there or get some sort of fact-checked information. You got to hear it from somebody who actually tossed their whole life out the window, went in there and served time. And also it's different. It's so different in different places. You know what I'm saying? So there's so many different aspects of the story to be told. And I think that's why it's so riveting. Also the violence and,
You get sober in July of 2019.
Yes, sir. This is the good part.
What was what was July of 2018 all the way up until you got sober? What did that year look like?
So in June, I tried to kill myself twice. And I was financially and in the game doing better than I'd ever done. Like I had adjusted myself. So I went to prison for stealing cars. And another thing prison taught me is that that's just a dumb click. And that I needed to do something different. So when I got out of prison, I was like, I'm not going to steal cars. And, I stuck to that for the most part. I definitely got wrapped up for another car theft, and I beat that case even though I was guilty. I got up on the stand and just lied my face off. And then when they knew that I had beat that case, the district attorney just started throwing cases at me. Just like, I'm going to throw something until something sticks. Because on the way out the courtroom, I said some real slick to her. I probably shouldn't have. You don't really want to piss off a district attorney. Just so you guys out there know, if you beat a case and you're guilty, don't piss off the DA on the way out. I fled the state of Oregon because they threw a case at me and they wanted 10 years. And I just didn't want to give them 10 years. So I checked with my attorney and I'm like, what's the extradition radius? And he's like, why are you asking me that delay? And I'm like, just tell me what the extradition radius is, bro. You know what I'm saying? And he's like, are you going to run? And I'm like, I don't know yet. I need you to answer me first. And he's like, it's connecting states. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. He's like, we only have a few days till trial. And I'm like, I know. And I'm like, but like, look, man, I could beat this case. He's like, you will beat this case. It's a weak case. And I'm like, and then they're going to throw something bigger at me 2 months later. And he's like, yeah, there's a huge chance of that. And I'm like, I can't keep paying you like this, dog. You know what I'm saying? So the day I was supposed to be walking into court, I was landing in Orlando. And I had moved to Daytona Beach, and I had this great idea because it was never me. It wasn't my fault that I couldn't stop using. It was Eugene, Oregon, homie. Didn't you know? I know too many people. The streets is too dirty. So all I got to do is move out of Eugene, Oregon. I'm going to go to the state of Florida to get clean because that's ever worked for anybody in the history of getting clean, right? Like I'm just going to change location, especially to Florida. I landed in Florida, and I told because I had friends that were also fugitives. That were from Eugene that lived in Daytona Beach, and they picked me up in Orlando, and I'm like, I'm gonna get clean here, and they're like, you're dumb as f-. This is not where you come to get clean. And I was like, no, I can do it. Watch this. Nope. I ended up relapsing really hard. I did good for like 2 years, bro, 2-3 years, and then I relapsed really hard, and I started selling a lot of dope because there just wasn't dope. There was a huge bust that happened, and nobody was really getting large quantities of dope. So I opened a pipeline from Atlanta, and had people that were bringing me pounds to my apartment, and I could literally get ounces for like $225, $250, and sell them for $1,100, and sell them all day long, and not even leave my couch. So I was making really decent money at the time, and I was really getting far out there. You know what I'm saying? Like I thought drones were following me everywhere, and super paranoid. And after a while, I was like, I watched other people around me getting busted, and I was like, I'm gonna get busted for this. So I decided to switch it up and start doing fraud. But I didn't know about doing fraud. So, I had a friend that was like hitting it real hard and doing real good. And I was like, yo, what's up, man? Like, teach me what you're doing. And he was like, yeah, sure, whatever, come to the hotel. And he taught me how to print up cards, and I learned how to print IDs. And we were hitting the embosser on the cards. We'd go to like have some tweaker go to 7-Eleven and steal like all the prepaid cards and bring them to us. And then we'd make credit cards out of them. And, we were doing like a lot of crazy like that. We were printing up a lot of checks, but payroll checks are so hit and miss, dog. Like, you're getting like 50, 60% of the time the payroll checks go through because you really have to kind of calculate the numbers off the check that you get as a sample from somebody. So it was just a pain in the ass to do checks. The credit cards were really hitting. I would go on the dark web and I would get pharmaceutical companies' representatives' credit card numbers, which is great because pharmaceutical companies I think are evil. I can hate them. I saw what they did with the whole opioid epidemic. And they literally send representatives out all across the country to wine and dine and, persuade doctors to prescribe and overprescribe whatever new they're pushing. So if you can get their cards, their card numbers, they're always Visa Infinites. All the ones I was getting was Visa Infinites, and they have no location locks on them. So literally, because they flying them all over the country. to pursue doctors. So it just was the most easy, made the most sense way to do this. Plus, there's zero guilt, like no conscience about this shit at all. So I'm hitting this shit really hard, but like the more money I get, the bigger my mountain of drugs and cool gadgets and, you know, jewelry. I know like it looks like I'm wearing, this is not fancy jewelry. This is like 40 or 60 bucks off Amazon, homie. Like I don't spend my money on that now anymore. But when I, you know, at the time I was all about things and stuff. And I always thought that the next thing that I got that I wanted so bad was going to like somehow fill the hole. Nothing ever filled the hole. And it got to the point where I didn't feel the drugs anymore. I wasn't doing the drugs to like, you know, to feel better. I was just doing the drugs to like not collapse. And so, you know, this emptiness inside of me grew and like, there was literally nothing I could do to feel anything. So I ended up trying to just end it in this Hilton Garden Inn. And my little ass dog saved my life. I don't know how I came back to, but my little ass dog saved my life. And, you know, that was like the second time that I'd attempted. And, you know, I wasn't like, if I really wanted to get it done, I'd have gotten it done. I had guns. But, you know, I think I was just reaching out to the universe like, can I go, please? Like, will you please let me go? I'm done with this. And, you know, I got the access denied. Get back in there. You got shit to do. So I knew that somebody had done controlled buys on me. I just had that feeling and I didn't know how bad it was. And every time I would turn around, it seemed like the task force or the police were like 2 steps behind me. And I knew that something was coming. I knew that I was going to get busted. I just had that feeling in my gut. If you ever had that intuition, it's hard to hear your intuition when you're on methamphetamines, but that mother was yelling in my ear, run. So finally I did, man. Me and a couple homies, we went, and originally we was just supposed to go to Arkansas because my uncle was out there growing some weed. Not my blood uncle, but my mud uncle, you know, because we got it out the mud together. He's, you know, and he's like, bro, if you just want to come out here, we hang out, we listen to Pink Floyd, we trim weed and eat pizza, and like you can disappear out in the woods in Arkansas. And I'm like, run that up. So, you know, I got a death certificate and I got all this stuff. I was going to fake my own death because I knew that they were probably looking for me. So I was going to try to throw them off the scent. And, the homie that was driving that had the truck was like, I just need to swing down south real quick to say goodbye to my sister because I'm never coming back to Florida. And I'm like, facts, me neither. Cool. We'll do fraud the whole way there and the whole way back. And we were down there for maybe a couple days, and we was printing up a load of counterfeit money and passing out counterfeit hundies down there. And we went to go to Chipotle. I hit him up and I'm like, dog, when's the last time you ate? And he's like, a couple days, brother. And I was like, yeah, let's go get some Chipotle, dog. And we left to go get Chipotle, and he left a bunch of half-printed bills out on the bed, still drying. And he didn't have a do not disturb sign up. So housekeeping came in and found that, and they called the sheriff's department, and the sheriff's department had the Secret Service, the local Secret Service, come out. So by the time we got done like eating Chipotle and hitting a couple stores on the way back to pass out some fake hundies and get real cash, we're pulling back in the parking lot. And I'm like, bro, did you see that cop in there? He's like tucked in the way back, but he's there. Just keep driving. And he's like, no, they're not here for us. I'm like, I assure you, bro, like we're the only people under the age of 70 staying here, and we are gacked the fuck out. They are 100% there for us. And he's like, no, brother, we're fine. We're good. He was, you know. So he pulls in, and I'm like, this is going to be bad when we get out, bro. And like, I've got my little dog in my lap, my little service animal. And as soon as he parked, I knew what time it was. So I put my dog down and I got out, and they came out the bushes, and they're pointing, you know, fully automatic guns at our heads. They got ski masks on, and they're in camouflage army fatigues and everything. And they come out at us real hard and fast. I just threw my hands in the air and I said, please don't shoot my dog, bro. Just don't shoot my dog. Don't like police, but she ain't gonna bite you. She just gonna growl at you a little bit. Don't hurt my dog. And normally when you have like that many guns pointed at you, there's like a feeling of like, oh, or how do I get out of here? And I just breathed a sigh of relief. I was like, this is over. I wanted it to be over for so long, bro, but I don't have the ability to pump any brakes, bro. As soon as I put one little bit of meth in my system, I have zero And it's just, we're going until we hit something solid that we can't make our way through. And that's always what it's been for me. Like a lot of the times that I got arrested, I feel like it was a rescue mission almost, like that I was unwilling to go through. But then like in retrospect, like, holy shit, going to prison saved my life, because doing high-speed chases was going to kill me or I was going to kill someone else. And if I took somebody's mom or their kid or their dad or their sister or their best friend or wife from them, bro, I'm not going to be able to live with myself for that. So going into custody, the Secret Service was there, and I didn't know how long I was going to do. I really had no idea how long I was going to do. But I ended up, throughout this set of charges, like first off, I got bonded out on that. And once I got bonded out on that, I went back to Daytona Beach. I immediately put myself into outpatient treatment because I just knew I need to stop. I can't be doing this anymore. And, it was about 30 days and they came and kicked my door looking for me. And I came out because I didn't want them up my house that I was living at. They had more charges for me. And I bonded out on that. And then about 30, 40 days later, they come looking for me again, and I was up in the attic, bro. They couldn't find me. I was up in the attic. I had some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches stashed up there. So as soon as they were gone, I called my bondsman, and he's like, "Yeah, you got a warrant for sales of meth." And I'm like, "Is it trafficking or sales?" He goes, "Sales, but within 1,000 feet of a school." I'm like, "That's not good, homie." And he's like, "It's better than trafficking." And I'm like, "Can I bond out?" And he's like, "Yeah, bro, we'll run the bond on it." So I went and turned myself in, was in for 8 hours, came back out. Immediately, like, I hired a private forensic detective to go and measure that 1,000 feet, because I know cops is evil. I know that cops is on some doopy shit a lot of the time. I know that they'll lie through their teeth to try to scare you into taking shit you shouldn't take. And that private forensic detective cost me like $580 or something like that. And he came up with 1,044 feet. All 4 ways he measured it. And he was a forensic detective out of, worked for the NYPD. So when we ended up taking that into the district attorney, she's like, "Simple sale." You know what I'm saying? And that dropped it down from a 5-year mandatory minimum. But finally I ran into some shit that I couldn't bond out on. They had a stack of 13 felonies on me, and they wanted another. I was already at, I was so high up there on my bond, and they wanted another $105,000. And my bondsman's like, no, you're out of road on this, homie. So he said, "Get a bond reduction and I'll get you out." So I had to go and sit for like 14 days, and then I came back in front of the judge. When I came back in front of the judge, a dude that I knew who ran a sober living was there, and he's like, "Your Honor, we have a bed for Mr. DeLay. We'd like to have him come in here." And the judge looked at me and he's like, "Mr. DeLay, if I let you out today, are you going to go and do this sober living, do some treatment, get your life in order?" And I'm like, "Your Honor, there's nothing else that I want more." I said, "I'm already engaged in outpatient. I've been doing outpatient, and I'm totally ready for a higher level of care." And the prosecutor goes, "Your Honor, he's a fugitive from another state. He had an ID printer. He can print up credit cards. He can print up fake money. We've never had a bigger flight risk." And he looks at me and he goes, "Mr. DeLay, you want to see me piss her off today?" And I was like, "With my whole heart, Your Honor." And he's like, "All right, cool. If I drop it to 10 grand, can you pay $1,000 today?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." And, he looked at me and he said, "Look, if you go to treatment and complete treatment, we'll figure this whole thing out. If you me, I'm going to bury you. I'm going to give you every single day that I can, every minute that I can. So you can either have a friend on this bench, or you can do a real long time in prison. It's up to you what you want to do, but I'm gonna offer you enough rope to hang yourself." He was a no-nonsense judge. His dad's name is the name on the courthouse. His name is Judge Foxman, and so his son, Matt Foxman, is the one who literally saved my life, giving me this opportunity, bro. And I went into that sober living, and I embraced it wholeheartly. And I was doing really, really good with this. I took 6 solid months. Everybody asked me, "What does it take?" And all I can do is I can tell you what worked for me. I can't tell you what it's going to take for you. You have different traumas than me. You have a different addiction than me. You have different triggers than me, but I can tell you what worked for me, and we can figure out a program of daily recovery that'll work for you for mind, body, and spirit. But for me, it took 6 months of sitting there. I didn't do no social media. I didn't watch no TV. I didn't hook up my PlayStation, and I didn't with no girls. You know what I'm saying? No relationships. I hung out with dudes that, like you said, I normally wouldn't hang out with. Every other time I'd ever been in the rooms, I was looking for the dudes with the tattoos who dressed like car thieves or, seemed like they were doing fraud or, maybe doing bumps in the bathroom. You know what I'm saying? This time I was looking for dudes with real ass recovery. And I spent 6 months just digging into why am I f***ed up and how do I fix that shit? Because it's now or never for me. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm either going to do this right now and I'm going to give it everything that I have. And, if I fail, I fail, but it won't be because I didn't try hard enough. I'm going to do every single thing that I'm told. Shy of I'd have done whatever those men who had been where I was and made it out and were living happy, productive lives. I'd have done anything shy of suck. And my sponsor put that to the test because he told me, I was telling him, I'm like, look, so they got me in the parking lot, not the room. So anything in the room, they can't really charge me with. That's constructive possession. They're not going to be able to get me on that. And he's like, are you lying? I'm like, well, yeah. And I'm like, they can't get me on this because of this. And he's like, are you lying? I'm like, yeah, but I mean, bro, this is court. And he goes, yeah, you don't get to choose the consequences of your actions. You either take accountability or you don't. And what happened the last time you beat a case by lying? When you were guilty, I was high within a month. And then the next, I could have squashed that out with 3 years, but the next time they wanted 10, he goes, yeah, your life's going to get worse if you lie. He's like, that's not how God or the universe work, homie. You could call it whatever the you want, but you don't get blessings off of lies. If you want to build a life that's built on a foundation of accountability and truth and owning your and he said, that's the real choice here. Don't even worry about the consequences. Worry about what man you want to be today. And so I went in and I changed my plea and I open pled in front of the judge. But the thing that happened in between there that was really super cool, and like, I don't care what you believe. I'm going to call this God. It's the higher power of my understanding. I want to make it as unintimidating to everybody as possible. Because remember, I used to be a staunch atheist. And I know that like the faith-based element of the 12 steps was something that made it hard for me to feel like I fit and hard to make it feel like it was real. So that's why I'm in smart recovery as well, because I want to be able to walk people through a non-faith-based, evidence-based program if they want that. But to me, it was God that intervened. Like that COVID happened, and COVID was terrible for a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? Rest in peace. But for me, it saved my whole life because it gave me 20 months where they weren't running court hearings except for Zoom. So I had 20 months to prove myself. And I spent every day doing something that I could to prove myself, whether it was just helping the next guy, networking, I started 2 community outreaches, one to raise funds for people in early recovery who couldn't afford mental health services, because that was something I needed. Like, I'll say this straight up and out. I love counseling. I love therapy. I love going and talking to somebody who can listen to me and let me know, just different perspectives, or just let me vent. Like, talking is so cathartic, especially when it's somebody that's neutral. That shit saved my life. And I knew most people couldn't afford it because I couldn't afford it. And so, we raised a bunch of money to be able to help people get actual, counseling and therapy. And the other one was a Narcan distribution, because we were seeing record overdoses, especially during the pandemic. And my dumb ass, we're out there in the middle of the pandemic and everybody's supposed to be social distancing, and like the actual lockdown in Florida was 2 weeks, and DeSantis said, this is stupid, we're not doing this. But like, we're still supposed to social distance or whatever and wear masks. And like, I'm literally, the Narcan distribution that I set up wasn't somewhere where you could come and pick it up. It was, we went to them. We went to the hardest hit parts. Like, I worked directly with Sheriff Chitwood, and he told us where the most overdose calls were coming from, what neighborhoods, what areas. And those were the places that we focused our efforts, because that's where they needed. There were other places that were like, come to the sheriff's office parking lot and pick up your Narcan. Well, when I was high out of my mind, do you think I'd have gone to the sheriff's office to ask for something that lets them know that I'm using drugs? Absolutely the not. And, we would get these backpacks and we put snacks in it, we'd put fresh socks. People always need fresh socks if they're out there using, you know what I'm saying? And pamphlets as to where they could go to get things like detox and sober living and, you know, counseling and just places that they could get help if they wanted to, but we weren't pushing it on them. And I would have these volunteers, and we would all walk out into these really hard hit hoods in the middle of the whole shutdown, and we were handing out bags with Narcan and like that. And I'm out there just dumb as just hugging people, helping homeless people out the bushes and giving them big old hugs and, you know, handing them granola bars and Narcan and everything, because that's me, bro. Like if I find it's my time to go, I'm going to go. And, you know, it was just amazing what just letting people feel seen and heard did. You could see the light turn back on in their eyes. Like you're treating them like a human. It's the first time they've been treated like a human in as long as they can remember. We were able to get people to immediately, like, without prodding them or trying to pressure them, like, hey, can you get me in detox? Absolutely, man. Are you kidding me? We got a truck right now. And there were so many times where we were able to get people out, get them directly into detox, get them directly into treatment, have them lined up with sober living as soon as they got out of treatment. And like, I still see those people thriving today. And the news hit me up multiple times. I became the person in Daytona Beach who they would come and talk to when it came to Narcan or the opioid epidemic or, you know, what was going on with that type of shit. So when I went back in front of the judge after 20 months, you know, I was a manager at 2 different sober livings. You know, I was a manager at one. I was a one-on-one counselor at another. I was teaching classes at the place where if you got a DUI in Daytona Beach and you were court ordered to take classes, you had to come see me. Me.
JD Delay.
Dog, dead ass. I went from the one people were handing a cup and saying, piss into this while I look up your urethra, to me being like, here, bro, pee into this. I have to look at your and I really thought I was done seeing when I left prison, because I was seeing more than any OnlyFans model on the face of the planet. I promise you, dog. The showers at OSP are nothing nice. And then, you know, I had to watch people do UAs. And, you know, but the cool thing was being able to teach and run those classes, even though people were court ordered to be there, because I was so passionate about my recovery. You know, I wasn't in there making them watch videos or read through pamphlets or do workbooks. We were really getting into it. And, you know, I feel like I really was able to make a difference, and that made me stoked to get up every single day. So I had a huge outcry from the recovery community that went in. I had like 8 witnesses to my character when I went into the judge, and, you know, these people were prestigious people in the recovery community. You know, like I'm the director of this treatment center, and I'm from the Volusia Recovery Alliance, and, you know, all this crazy. I'd never had nobody rally for me like that before, bro. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. Ain't not a tough bone in my body when it came to that day, bro. Like, I was in tears listening to people say nice shit about me in court. I never had nobody say nothing nice about me in court before. It's always dubious ass, diabolical shit. And I get a little teary even talking about it, because these people were people I respected profoundly. And they came in and said things about me that, like, bro, I never had self-esteem like I had in that moment. And then my public defender wheels in a TV and he's like, Your Honor, I'd like to play you like 8 clips from the news about Mr. DeLay. And he's like, after like the 3rd or 4th one, he's like, look, I get it. I get it. Yeah. Like, Mr. DeLay, what do you actually want here? And I'm like, well, Your Honor, I earned prison. And if you send me to prison, I 100% like, I respect it, because, you know, my actions bought that ride. And I said, but if you wanted to give me an opportunity to be able to keep doing the work I'm doing in my community and to keep working on what I've built and the change in my life and who I am, and you were willing to give me house arrest, I promise you that I would honor that blessing and I will pay it forward to the next man with everything that I do. And he said, so look, here's the thing is I can give you 2 years in prison right now and no paper, and you'll never have to think about it again. Or I can give you 2 years of house arrest and 2 years of probation. And he said, I promise you the house arrest is going to be harder than anything you've ever done in your life. And if I ever see you in here again on some bullshit, I'm going to hit you with every day that I can. And your exposure is, you know, I can hit you for 20 or 30 years. He said, it'd be wise for you, Mr. DeLay, to go take your 2 years. And I said, I'll bet on myself. he gave me the house arrest, bro. And so I started, I became the court liaison after that for a treatment center. So I'd go back in and see that judge. And when I'd walk in the courtroom, he'd smile like I was like his like something he did that he's proud of. You know what I'm saying? I'd walk in the courtroom. He'd be like, "It's our friend, Mr. DeLay." And he's like, "Somebody's probably going home today." And, you've got these dudes in their orange jumpsuits and they're like, "Hope he's here for me." And, I'd go in there and I'd be like, "Hey, Your Honor, we'd really like to get this person out." And like, he would, every single time, he'd let the person out until I went in to get my best friend and get him into treatment. And I was like, "Your Honor, I've done a little extra work with him because I have history with him. I know he's a mechanic. I have a letter here from a mechanic shop. He is an amazing and gifted motorcycle mechanic when he's not high on crystal methamphetamines." And the judge was laughing. He's like, "Yeah, that sounds like every mechanic I know." And he's like, "Where were you 2 days ago when I needed to change my tire?" And my homie Tony, he's like, "In here, Your Honor, behaving well." And he was like set. He was going to let him out. And then the prosecutor called up a detective, and the detective's like, "He is the #1 trafficker." I'm like, "Bro, he had 6.4 grams and 4.6 grams, and 4 grams is the trafficking amount. He has a 1.5 grams a day habit of fentanyl. What do you mean?" And the numbers don't reflect that. And the judge was like, "Mr. DeLay, we can't argue." Because I was ready to go in the paint for him right there. And so he denied me on that. But I worked with this judge and I've watched him turn around so many lives. He's like a personal hero to me because not only did he help me save my life, but I see him do it all the time. And he's a pretty amazing dude. I got through house arrest. House arrest is actually what got me on social media. I had never done a video for anything except somebody asked me to record some videos about recovery to take into the county jail because I couldn't physically go because they would not let me the back in there unless I committed a crime, and I wasn't trying to do that. So I made some videos for them to show in a treatment program in the jail. And I was like, "Oh, this is kind of cool," you know what I'm saying? But I built a studio in my house while I was on house arrest, and I recorded an album, and I went to go try to promote it, and the dog views. Like, nobody cared. Like, "Shut up, we don't like you," right? And then I was like, "Well, just one day I'm in my living room, and I'm drinking a White Monster. I've got my White Monster, and I'm about to get tattooed by a dude who was 3 weeks out of prison, and he's got the home tattoo kit in the living room on house arrest. We're bumping to Limp Bizkit, and I'm like, I'm gonna make it. This is the most Florida shit I've ever seen. I'm gonna make a TikTok about this." And he's in the background with his grills going, with the tattoo gun in his hand. And I'm like, "If you ain't in Florida on house arrest, listening to Limp Bizkit, drinking White Monster, about to get a tattoo, where the you at?" And just posted it and got tattooed for hours. Didn't even think about it. Next day I woke up and it's 1.5 million views. Fred Durst from Limp Bizkit commented on it. Little Aaron, Nothing Nowhere. I've got over 100,000 followers, and I was like, "Oh, that look good." And
Jesus,
just started posting from there, bro. And social media has been really cool to me because working in recovery has never been lucrative for me. I don't think working in recovery is really lucrative for people who are doing it out of the right intentions. You know what I'm saying? There was the whole yellow gold rush in Florida where they were just billing the shit out of insurance for every drop of piss they could get. There's body broking going on down there. The Florida treatment scene. I know Bam Margera has talked about being on the Florida Shuffle before. Mm-hmm. And while I don't think Bam does really good at taking accountability for his actions, he's not entirely wrong when it comes to the Florida Shuffle. They will literally shuffle you from treatment center to treatment center, and you'll have somebody in the parking lot when you get out trying to tempt you. So it is very crooked. And, I think it's very lucrative if you're working it like that. But when you're trying to help the dude who's in the bushes outside the McDonald's save his life so his mama don't get that call, there's no real money in that. So I've always had to work other jobs while working recovery. And social media allowed me to stop doing a moving job where I would work 15 to 16, 17-hour days in the Florida sun, humping sofas upstairs and downstairs and driving them from Miami all the way up to Tampa, all the way to Jacksonville, and just doing this crazy to be able to afford to be able to, help people. And social media became something that gave me enough money to be able to continue to do what I genuinely like to do, which I feel is my purpose. Like 100%, there were so many times when I feel like I should have gone down the wrong road and God just closed the door on me, and it felt like time. I'm like, I feel like this is what I'm supposed to do, and the door would close, and I think it was God going, nah, this way. You know what I'm saying? And then the next, like right around the corner is something 10 times better. And that's how every day in recovery has felt like. My plans, dog, but God got something better for me as long as I keep walking in the right direction. You know what I'm saying? And it's just been a huge blessing. Social media has allowed me to be able to reach millions of people instead of just, you know, a classroom full of people at a time. And what better mission is there, bro, than to be able to give people hope, use my story to be able to show people that it can be done. My story is a story of chaos. My story is a story of, just a show and misery. And the only way that any of the misery and the chaos that I went through makes any goddamn sense is if I use that story to try to help other people. Because I was as bad as it gets, bro. Like I was up. I'm in hotels trying to kill myself. I'm in prison, hiding tobacco in my asshole. You know what I'm saying? I'm hurting people. I'm leaving my mama crying in parking lots trying to get me to get clean. And, I'm so not in control that, like, I love my mama with all my heart. It broke my heart. I went and wept in a trap hotel bathroom after leaving my mom because she told me I needed to go to treatment or she couldn't be in my life anymore because I was literally really that bad. I was genuinely doing bad, bro. I've done bad things in my life I'll never talk about on the internet. But if I could make it out and do something positive with my life, I promise you, anybody can do it. Anybody, you might not be able to do it by yourself, and I guarantee you it's going to be hard work, but I can promise you this, it's going to be worth it. And there's people out there that will help you. And the life that you're giving up is going to be a ghost and a shell and a bad memory compared to the life that's waiting for you. But you got to take those first steps while you're still breathing, because these days with fentanyl, bro, there's no margin for motherfucking error anymore. They putting that shit in everything, and you never know if what you're going to get. There's like new drugs in Florida right now that are killing people. I don't even know the name of them. Like, I know that we got fent. I know that we got trank. I know we got carfentanil. There's this new out there.
Juicy.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, there is so much dangerous, high-level shit out there. You never know. Do you think you have a better plug than Mac Miller? Do you think you have a better plug than Lil Peep, dog? You know what I'm saying? Like, these dudes are getting, like...
It's insane.
They have record deal, like, they're making record companies millions of dollars, and the record companies are hooking them up with their drug dealers. You think you got better plugs than that from, some dude with like 3 nicknames up the street from you who sees shadow people all the time? You don't, bro. You're delusional. Get out while you're still breathing, because there's people out here who will help you, and you matter, and your life will be better. And I get to tell people that now.
What piece of advice would you have for the listener who is still caught up in the obsessive compulsivity of addiction right now and can't stop using?
Look, man, I was the king of getting stuck. Bro. And I would want with my whole heart to change. The only way that I would be able to change is by getting completely and totally incarcerated. But other people, that doesn't have to be your path. You know what I'm saying? You've got to go out and you've got to seek help. And I can't tell you if you're in, Virginia or Washington or all these different places. I've got this global platform now. I don't know where you can get help specifically, but I know where you can go to get pointed in the right direction. And you can go to an AA meeting. You can go to an NA meeting, and there's going to be a mother there who lived the same type of life that you lived and knows that misery and that hole eating inside of your chest that feels like it's on fire when you don't have something in your system to numb that out. And they're going to be able to help you figure it out. If you need detox, somebody at AA or NA is going to be able to help you find a detox. If you need sober living, somebody there is going to be willing to take you under their wing just off the strength. And I know that when you're living on the streets and you living for drugs, it's real hard to trust a motherfucker for anything. You know what I'm saying? Especially taking them at face value, somebody you don't know. But I promise you, there's people there that just off the strength of wanting to help the next man are going to be willing to take you under their wing and make sure that you get the help that you need to save your life. So you're not on a t-shirt with your mama crying, and you don't even get funerals anymore these days, bro. They're doing maybe a celebration of life at some park. You ain't probably getting no cemetery plot, dog. You probably gonna end up in a little urn, and everybody who loves you is gonna have a hole inside of them for the rest of their lives that they walk around with. Trust me, I know. So go to an NA or an AA meeting, and it doesn't have to be your final destination, bro. Like AA saved my life, and I'll forever be grateful to AA. I also did NA after AA. So, and after I finished with that, I ventured into smart recovery because I knew that one thing that was missing for me to be able to fully embrace recovery was when I was an atheist. I probably could have got that licked a long time before, but like I wasn't ready to accept God. Well, smart recovery can help people who have a problem with connecting with a higher power because it works with the psychology and the neuroscience of addiction. And, you know, it will help you figure out what your thinking errors are. It will let you understand what's actually going on in the limbic system when you're taking that hit. You know, it tells you learn about the reward system in your brain and, you know, what chemicals you're hitting when you do your drug of choice and ways that you can actually supplement that with things that are healthy, and it gives you healthy replacements and it gives you support, and you don't have to worry about the higher power if you're not ready for that, man. You know, that'll either come or it won't. Hey, that's everybody's personal decision. You know, and there's also, you know, if you're bad on opiates, bro, there's MAT treatment. And a lot of people look down on people on MAT treatment. I'll never in my life look down on how another man recovers, bro. You trying to save your motherfucking life, I got your back, bro. And I'll fight for you. I'll fight for you. Whatever you're doing, if it's MAT treatment, dog, that's between you and your healthcare provider. And nobody at any meeting, no junkie who's recovering different than me should ever be able to tell me shit about the way I recover unless they're my sponsor. If I didn't ask you, it's none of your motherfucking business. Stay out mine. I break people's noses for that. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, even when it comes down to a sponsor, bro, what's between you and your healthcare provider? You know, I know people who've gone from being knocked down, drag out, shooting in their neck with toilet water junkies to being more successful than me through Suboxone, Subutex. My personal favorite is Vivitrol, man, because there's no associated high. It's a once a month shot. It blocks all the receptors in your mind for opioids. So if you use, you won't feel the effects. It's futile, but also what it does is it kills the cravings and those urges. And I've seen so many people turn their entire life around in 6 months on Vivitrol. The problem is with it is, again, you know, we're going to talk about the pharmaceutical companies being evil. They came up with some great drugs to try to help people get off the drugs that they helped them get on in the first place. You know what I'm saying? So they're going to sell you the poison. They're going to sell you the antidote. And they're going to charge you more to get clean than they ever charged you to get high. Punk. So it's expensive. So if you know, a lot of places you can go and you can get government subsidized healthcare just by going to an AA meeting and getting plugged in with the right people. They can help you figure all that out. You know, I've seen people go in, you know, fresh out the bushes, fresh out the trap house, fresh out the bando, bro. Bandos, man. Oof. You know, like living out of an abandoned house with no water in it and no power. And you know, it smells like an old fridge got the, you know, mildewed everything in it and the door left open. But, you know, I've seen people come in straight off the streets, still rugged, and get hooked up and, you know, be on Vivitrol, which is like $1,500 a shot if you have to pay for it out of pocket, within 3 days, bro. You know what I'm saying? They're in detox, and you know, they're within 3 days they got their insurance lined up. So by the time they're ready to get the shot, because you have to wait a little bit between your last use and getting the shot, you know, but they put them in a detox and they put them somewhere where they can be chill and, you know, have what they need in the meantime. So there is help out there. You just got to find it in your local area. And honestly, it's good for you to go find that. Nobody should like just straight up give you the answer right here, bro. If I gave you the answer right here, right now, and you really needed it, you really were asking the question, and I gave you everything that you needed and you didn't put no work in, it's not going to stick, bro. You got to have some skin in the game. You know what I'm saying? I've never seen somebody have the whole thing handed to them and have them go the distance with it. You gotta, you can hand somebody the tools, but you gotta build your own motherfucking house. Everybody has to build their own house. You know what I'm saying? And it's when you put that work in, it's when you have that sweat and that dedication, and you go through the misery of withdrawals and you come out the other side and you build it and you start really seeing the fruits of that, that it means something to you. If somebody tries to hand it to you, it's not going to mean to you. You're going to throw it away. So.
JD, beautifully said. Thank you so much for coming on. You're a power of example to many out there. Your humility, I mean, what you do for the sober community isn't something that you talk about on a regular basis, and not something you talk about publicly. So I appreciate you sharing that here and your journey. Thank you so much for coming on.
I appreciate you having me, man.